looked around and I found that it's coming apart at the seams. It's a land full of battered and shattered and broken dreams. They say that evil is hunting you. But I don't know what it means. I think that I could have saved it if only I had enough time. Just a few simple words would have thrown it all back in line. And then some well-meaning soul says it's all for our good. But it feels like we're falling and too far behind. Held my unbelief.
Hey everybody! Whew. Mic's too far away. Check, check. All right. Hi, welcome to Ask Joe. Sorry I'm late. Having some weird. There's always something weird on that messes with things. Oh, Warren is live too. He's gonna take away a lot of my audience because he's awesome. I kind of want to not do this and go listen to Warren. I'll run with it. Let's roll with it. Need to figure out an intro for this week. I had an idea, so let me see. Let's move the mic over. I'm gonna do the idea over here, and then we'll rock out. So the idea for this intro is something I did. Let me just try something. Okay, let me find the intro. Is this? This is Ask Joe 233. All right, so this is one. Let's see. Let's go back here. 1, 2, 3. This is Ask Joe 233. Okay, so that's kind of simple. This is Ask Joe 233. Now, I'm going to do something I did on a Frankie Baranco project that was super interesting. So, this will take just a second, but it's kind of fun. Alright, so I'm going to take this track, and I'm going to probably crash the whole system trying to do this, but we're gonna try it out. We'll pull up Melodyne, and let's see with this tiny screen if I can make it work.
This is Ask Joe 233.
Okay, so that feels right. I don't know where that reverb's coming from. No clue where that reverb is. Oh, there it is. Where are my sins? Hold on, let me make this window bigger for a second. My sins have disappeared. Where are my sins? This is weird. There they are. Okay. Alright, now back to where we were. Okay, so this one.
This is Ask Joe 233.
So now we bounce that as a new audio file. Then we copy it again, and then no, let's take the first one. Take the first one, copy it down, do a new bounce of it, new Melodyne of it. Oh, the video's frozen. Why don't I my camera's been acting up. Let me just go to this. That camera is not happy today. Oh well, we may go cameraless. And you're not. Yeah, I don't know why you're hearing a lot of room sound. Sorry, I suppose it could be that you're not hearing. Oh, you're hearing that. Hold on. Now things should sound better. Are you hearing me better now? I hate technology so much. Let me see. What shot am I on? I'm on this shot. Should sound better now. And if we go to this one, of course, it's not working. That should be better now. Okay, so now you can hear me, but you can't see me because my camera's still messed up. We solved the problem. We never solved the problem. All right, this may be a faceless episode. Can y'all deal with a faceless episode? Because I can't get that camera to work. So anyway, let's keep doing what we were doing. So I'm going to take all of these notes, and we're going to tune them up real good. But now we're going to harmonize it. So
This is Ask Joe.
I'm going to take all the notes up.
Joe. This is Ask Joe 233.
It's just ridiculous. Okay, we'll say that one's good. So instead of singing it, I had the robot do it. And then let's duplicate it again. Bounce that one. Melodyne it. Snap it to a grid. So this is something a vocoder would do. But I'm going to do it without a vocoder. All right, here we go.
3.
Oh, hang on.
Joe. This is Ask Joe 233.
That's pretty cool. Let me render that one. Let's try one more just to be cheeky. Actually, let's take that one up just an octave using the transpose feature.
This is Ask Joe 233. This is Ask Joe 233.
There's some weird low end there.
This is Ask Joe 233.
But it's kind of cool. All right. So that's enough playing around for one day.
This is Ask Joe. This is Ask Joe 233. This is Ask Joe 233.
That's kind of fun. So there's our intro for today. So if you're joining me for the first time and you're wondering what is happening, I do something like this every week. And then we actually do a podcast. Also, I normally have a camera that's working. Let me try one thing to see if I can get this camera to work.
This is Ask Joe 233.
We're going to go with a faceless... Yeah, you're right about Brian May. We're going to go with a faceless podcast today. I apologize. For some reason, my camera will not recognize. I think my USB bus is dying. So yeah, this will be fine. It'll be fun. Okay, so I'm going to start the recording, and we'll do this thing without my face. Here we go.
This is Ask Joe 233.
Hi, everybody. Joe Gilder here from Home Studio Corner. You can't see my face today because my camera died. It froze, and after the stream began. So we're just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna do a faceless podcast where you're just gonna see. If you're listening to the audio, this is no different than every week. But if you are watching the video and you can't see my face, that's why. So you can we'll zoom in real good on, let's do this. Let's zoom in on my voice here so you can see me talking. There you go. That's just as good as being here in real life, right? Okay. Hey, my name is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com. Super glad you're here. If this is your first time on the live stream or listening to the podcast, thanks for tuning in. I've run Home Studio Corner since 2009. It exists to help frustrated musicians make the best music of their life. That's essentially, in a nutshell, what I do. I've got tons of videos for free on my YouTube channel, tons of articles, emails, lots of stuff like that. And then I've got a bunch of courses that I've created over the years that are designed to help you tackle all the different problems you might face when you're trying to make music in a home studio. Things like learning how to use EQ, learning how to use compression, the entire mixing process, recording things like guitars and vocals, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, producing a song from start to finish. I've done up 20, actually, different courses over the years, all designed to help you get better recordings and mixes in your home studio. So if you're looking for some more in-depth training beyond what you can get on YouTube, and you can get lots on YouTube, but if you want something a little more structured with a little more kind of walk you through the process, my courses are where it's at. And just last night I did a live stream that was super fun, and I announced a new thing that I've never had before. I've mentioned it on the podcast the last couple of weeks. It's called the VIP Gold membership. So I've had a VIP membership since 2011. This is the new Gold membership, which is a new level that gets you access to all my courses, all 20 courses, for one price. If you were to buy them all separately, it'd be like $1,500. If you go sign up now, head over to the members area, or head over to homestudiocorner.com/VIP, which that web address looks like this. Head to homestudiocorner.com/VIP. There's a video there you can watch to learn more about it and see if it's right for you. You get a ton of material that will help you. Honestly, in the next few months, you'll be making the best music of your life based on the stuff you learn and apply from the VIP area. There's monthly challenges to get you making music. There's tons of courses you have access to. It's just killer, and I'm super excited about it. So that's going to be kind of all I want to talk about today, because I really want to get into your questions. We got a smaller group today because I think Warren Hewitt is doing a live stream at the same time as this. So I'm just going to say thank you for being here, by the way. Now, I love Warren. I kind of wish I could cancel the live stream and go watch his. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick around and hang out with you beautiful people and answer as many questions as I can. How's that sound? Boom. All right, so while I'm yapping here, get your questions ready and start leaving them, and I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. Since we have a little bit of a smaller crowd, that means you can, there's my chat. That means you can probably get a few more questions in than normal, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you have questions about that VIP Gold thing, feel free to ask those as well. It's new, it's different, it takes a little time to figure out what that is, but it's something I'm really excited about, and you should be too. Let's see if we got any questions here in the chat. Why is Mac OS better for production and recording than Windows? That's from NP. I would say it's not. A lot of people use it. I just like Mac, and it's what I've used since I first got into, more proper recording. I got a Mac and was using Pro Tools because that's what all the studios I went to were using, and so I just used it, and it's worked out really well. But can you make great music on a PC? Absolutely. These are the kind of debates that I don't like to get into because they're boring to me. What computer you used had nothing to do with the music being amazing, right? It's how you used it. And that's what I talk about all the time. It doesn't matter. It really, as long as you're not scraping the bottom of the barrel with your equipment, you can make amazing sounding music using exactly what you have. You just need the practice and the skills to do that. Which again is why my VIP Gold, I'm really excited about this Gold thing. My VIP Gold is a game changer for you. Go check it out, homestudiocorner.com/VIP. Teach you to make great music using what you have instead of feeding the lie that you always got to upgrade to new stuff. Speaking of upgrading to new stuff, Kip Buckner says, saw your video on Studio One version 4, which is out today. That's actually the version you're seeing scrolling across my screen right now.
He says, how much is the upgrade? I think it's $150. I don't know. They gave it to me for free to review before it came out today. Not a ton of features that I'm excited about personally, but there's some interesting technology they've added and a couple of cool new features like import song data, which I just put a video up on my channel about that. So check that out if you're interested and you're a Studio One user. Let's see what else we have question-wise. How do you deal with low-mid buildup on a mix? Great question, Donald. There's two ways to deal with it. The first and best way is to deal with it on the front end with your microphone placement and the choices of what you record. If you're going to record a bunch of Les Pauls on the neck pickup with a pretty clean tone, there's a good chance you're going to have low mid buildup just because of that alone. You may want to mix it up and not record as many low mid heavy instruments so that the way you're producing the song yields to a more full sound. So the tones themselves of what you're recording are big. Then how you record them. If you're putting the mic right up next to it, if it's a cardioid mic, a directional mic, it's going to have more low end. A lot of times you can use that to your advantage. For example, if I want to sound super sexy, I'll get really close to the microphone, and that gives me more of a bass response, right? But that can be great or it can be bad. If you're miking things too closely, they can be muddy. So dealing with it on the front end during recording is the first step. And then on the back end, it's literally just a matter of most of the EQ that you should do in a mix is probably going to be subtractive, meaning you're taking away frequencies. And I found the bulk of those frequencies are the low mids. That's just where a lot of the fundamental energy of all the things we record lie. Vocals, guitars, pianos, most drums have really strong fundamental frequencies in that low-mid range. So if we don't take some of that out, you end up with a muddy mix. Now on the flip side, if you take too much out, then your mix starts to sound hollow and sometimes harsh. So you gotta toe the line between the two. You'll probably go too far in one direction and then too far in the other. That's okay, we all do that. But hopefully you land on something that sounds balanced. Remember, the goal here is for balance. We're not trying to get rid of low-mid frequencies. We're just trying to make them be around the same volume as everything else so that they don't stand out. It's an important thing to remember. Hey, Joe, I have Studio One 3 Artist. Do I need to buy Studio One 4 Artist or do I get it for free? No clue. You should ask PreSonus. Watchmaker says, how do you approach tape emulation in your mixes? I don't. I've never used tape emulation. I'm sure I'm missing out. But I'm happy with what the sounds I'm getting using the stuff I'm using. So I don't come up with ideas of new things to add to make things more complicated. Lee Hoffman says, do you feel like the preamps in your studio mixer affect the quality of your recordings? Absolutely. The preamp is a part of the sound, and sometimes it's a huge part of the sound. If you have really cheap, crappy preamps, your music might sound cheap and crappy. But that doesn't mean you have to have $2,000 preamps to get good recordings. The ones on most decent audio interfaces today are more than adequate for getting good recordings. They're going to be clean. They're going to have a decent amount of gain, not a ton of noise. They're not going to have a lot of character. So maybe one really nice external preamp makes sense to give more character, to have a separate sound to record, but by no means is any of that necessary. Coda Talltree says, my mastered recording ended up sounding different than what I was hearing through my monitors. What's the deal with that? Thanks for all the help. It could be any number of things. Most likely, every room that you're going to be in is going to lie to you. Every set of speakers lies to you. They're not giving you a perfectly accurate sound. But that's okay. That's just the rule. That's not the rule, but that's just how things work. The chances are, I'm guessing you haven't released a lot of music, and so you probably don't actually know what a good mix is supposed to sound like on your speakers in your studio. So what sounds good to you, if you were to flip over to one of your favorite records and listen to it, would it sound the same as your mix? I'm going to guess probably not. I'm going to guess your mix has problems that maybe you're not hearing or don't realize are there. But if you listen to more professionally produced and mixed and released records in your studio, in your mix position through your speakers, you'd notice there's a difference between yours and theirs. It's not just a volume difference. You can level match them and listen to just the tonal differences, and you'll start to hear the differences there. That's why people stress using reference tracks so much. I don't do it as much nowadays. I've never done it a lot, honestly, and maybe it's a bad thing, but for the most part, I do it as I listen to references all the time everywhere. I'm listening to music, and then when I listen to my music, it should stand up against the stuff I've been listening to. If it doesn't, something's wrong with my mix, not with anything else. Good question. Joel says, he he says he asked about my Taylor last night on the live stream. He says, I know there's no sub for a second guitar, but you got any other tips than to EQ them differently to get the differences as two guitars would? The biggest thing is to play different parts. So don't play the same part twice. If you're going to play something in the key of G, then on the second pass, capo 2 and play it in, capo 3 and play it in E. Or capo way up high, like whatever, 7 or so, and play it in C. Or if the song's in E, play it in open tuning, or play it open, and then capo 4 and play it in C. And those are your two tracks. They're going to have different voicings, which is going to really help. Also, different mic placement, different mic choice. Go from a condenser to a dynamic if you want a radically different sound. Put the microphone in a different position. That's going to give you a radically different sound. It'll still ultimately sound like a Taylor, but it's going to be different, which is maybe all you need. If you're just now joining us, Mark Sears, I see you there. My camera stopped working right as the stream started, so you're getting a voice-only episode, which is probably a good break for your eyeballs, if we're being honest. Josiah says, hey, Joe, as a studio owner, what do you say to potential clients who want to produce music that you don't want to listen to personally, i.e. it's immoral or explicit? I've not had to run into that. I'm usually running in circles of people that making music together just makes sense. I'm usually inviting them to make music. They're not coming to me. So somebody else just emailed me this morning. Honestly, I don't like to waste a lot of time thinking about the things I won't do. I think that's kind of a backwards sort of negative thought process. Just focus on making great music and working with great people. A lot of people think, oh, how do I prevent people from taking advantage of me and, not paying me and things like that. If you think about those things a lot, it's going to come true. There's this weird, kind of self-fulfilling prophecy that happens. If you're a person who is always a victim or is always negative, then all these victim sort of things and all these negative sort of things happen to you. And it's kind of you kind of end up looking for them. So if you're worried about what to do with this music, you're going to start looking for music that is immoral or explicit, and then you have to deal with that problem. I would just look for music that you connect with and work with people that you connect with. And if it comes up, you've got to deal with it, but that's not something I've had to ever deal with personally. Supersonic says nothing. Okay, he just said he needed to hear what I said earlier. Awesome. Sizzleman says, sorry if this has been talked about. Any updates on the new Mixed Together series? It is coming very soon. I still haven't picked, but I will be picking the song and getting the tracks and doing that very, very soon, probably in the next month or so. Jim Edgar, oh, no question. Thanks for being here. A name with lots of Greek characters says, during mixing and production, how do you decide if certain parts need to be left rough and dirty or made uglier in order to enhance the vibe? It's easy to make it clean, but then it's just boring. I think a big part of that is just immersing yourself in really well done productions. Listen to lots of good music and kind of pay attention to what they do. Do they do lots of really clean stuff, or are there some stuff where they kind of take liberties and make it sound weird and wonky? For me, a lot of that's just a gut thing. I listen to something and say, that sounds boring, how can I make it less boring? And sometimes that means adding distortion and delay to it, and now it's more interesting. If you're bored with it, then find a way to not be bored with it. That could mean making it dirty. That could mean bringing up another track in the song to cover it up. It could mean recording something all new. It could mean muting something. If it's not helping it and making it more interesting, maybe it needs to go. Bill Roofs, is your upcoming production course, will you be covering arrangement at all? Yeah, so if you were there last night, that was kind of the first video and kind of a sample of a new course I'll be making over the summer about production and how to think through producing a song. So yeah, that's everything we did last night, Bill, was pretty much arrangement. That's kind of what arrangement is. But yeah, we'll probably talk about it a little bit more. Blue Java says, your acoustic guitars always sound great. How many tracks do you typically use for acoustic guitars? Do you record multiple or just duplicate one, take, and pan it differently? Or a combination? First thing, Blue Java, never ever. After you hear this, I never want you to duplicate a track and pan it separately. That does not do anything. The only thing it can possibly do is make your mix sound worse, especially if you duplicate it and you pan one left and one right, and then you try to nudge one left or right or add delay to one of the tracks to make it feel wide. It will feel wide, but it's going to sound horrible. You've probably experienced that. The reason the guitars you hear that I record sound so good and especially sound so wide is because you're listening to different performances. So a lot of times lately I'll have a guitar up the middle, one on the left and one on the right. And then there might be a few more playing little melodies here and there. Some of the songs from my EP that I released last year called Rain, which was an acoustic EP, there's some songs on there. It's just an acoustic EP that have 10 acoustic guitar tracks. Now, I know you think that sounds crazy, but some are strumming chords, some are playing little melodies, and everything in between, and it all works together well. But no, I never, ever duplicate and pan. That will never, ever work. Chris says, finally got into my first single recording, not to mixing yet. What's your one piece of advice? One piece of advice for you is don't expect this first one to be great. I know that's negative, but if this is your very first one, don't have super high expectations. Go in there, do your best, finish it, and move on to the next one. This is song number 1 for you. It may turn out amazing. Statistically, it's probably not going to turn out amazing. So just move on. Song number 20 for you is going to start to sound pretty good. Song number 50 is where you're going to really start to see you've really come a long way and starting to make really amazing sounding music. So don't put all your eggs in this first basket. This is a journey, and you're making a great song right now, but it's going to be 10 times better when you get to your 10th and 20th and 30th and 50th song. Good question, though. Hey, Joe. Whoops. See, this chat sometimes just skips, and then I lose my place. Okay, Tim said, questions about this. I literally don't know anything about the Studio One upgrade other than what I did in the one little video. I assume all the version 3 stuff stays. I'm not sure why they would take any of that stuff away. NP says, what do you think about Antelope Audio products? They're great. Never used them. Callum says, can you fake saturation on a mix bus by using tape delay, setting the delay to 0 milliseconds and outputting 0% dry and 100% wet and only running audio through the plugin? I suppose so, but I don't know for sure. I'm not sure why you'd want to. Just get a plugin that does it, or better yet, don't worry about saturation. I don't use it, and I feel like I'm getting good results without it. Have you experienced difference in CPU performance in version 4 versus version 3? No. Honestly, I'm not going to take any more questions on Studio One because I literally got it yesterday and poked around with it. I've heard that the performance is better on the computer, but I've literally had it for less than 24 hours, so I really can't answer much more than that. Have you spent much time with DAW mode on your mixer? Yes, I'm starting to spend more time with it, and I'll be shooting some videos on that. It's pretty cool. There are things I love about it, things I don't love about it. So the verdict is still out, but yeah. I'll be doing some videos on that soon. Mark says, do you know if Tim Horsley will be doing more videos as a drummer with a tracking room? Those really help point me in the right direction. Yes, he's working on some right now. Steven says, are you going to record the show on June 1st? You, Frankie, and Homestead. No, I don't think we're recording it. Also, it's on May 30th, not June 1st, I think. Any advice on how to record a band during a live venue? Man, that's almost too vague of a question. Also, I'm not really a live venue guy, so maybe ask somebody who is. If they run a Studio Live PreSonus board, then just plug in and you can multi-track everything because it is an audio interface. Otherwise, there's splitter snakes and things involved that that's not my deal. When's the next Simply Recording episode? Probably never. We've kind of closed that chapter in our lives, so we're both moving on to other stuff. Carlos says, I've noticed that my mixes are not as loud when I put the audio of the song with the video. How can I fix that? You need to learn what mastering is. Go to my YouTube channel and search for a video I did on how to make my mixes louder. That'll get you started, but the reason everything you hear out there is loud is because it's been mastered. If you don't know how to master, you're not having someone master your stuff, that's where you need to focus your attention. Otherwise, your stuff will be fairly quiet. What are the best budget monitors under $400 for a pair? I don't know. I got my monitors about 12 years ago, and they still work, so I don't shop for monitors because mine work. Sorry, y'all keep asking questions about stuff I can't answer. So let's keep going down the line. Ever thinking about going back to Logic? Why and why not? Any other interesting DAWs? Reason 10. No, I don't think about changing. I know I changed to Studio One, and that was somewhat by accident. I have no intention of changing anywhere else. There's just no reason. Studio One does everything I need, and I'm not constantly looking for it. See, a lot of people, they look to change their software because they actually secretly are scared to make music. And so they come up with an excuse of, oh, I really need to get Studio One. I really need to get and the new version of Logic. I really need to get Reaper. I really need to upgrade. And it's all just one big excuse. It's all just one big scam where they're letting their fear dictate what they're doing. Now, that's not true of everyone, but it's true for a lot of people. If you like to have lots of pieces of software because that's how you work, fine. But no, I like to stick with what I have, and I like to focus on making music. You know what I mean? Are we allowed to ask more than one question? Of course. There's actually a little bit smaller group today than normal, so ask away. Any tips on mixing strings with the rest of the band? If the strings sound pretty good already, in a full band mix, if you do a big boost up high with a nice EQ, it could actually add a lot of air that sounds really cool. Too much is hard, but it can actually help it cut across everything pretty well. Paul says, I'm having a problem when recording vocals. When I get it up to negative 18 dB, I'm getting too much room noise. Any advice besides BOGOs? You mean gobos? It could be anything. Could be you're using a cheap microphone with a low output. Could be you're using a cheap preamp that doesn't have a good signal to noise kind of deal, so it has a lot of built-in noise. Or option 3, which is what I think it is, it's actually not a problem. Most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, the things people are worried about with noise, you don't hear in the final mix. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that's what it is. Or it could be you're too far away from the microphone. If you get closer to the microphone, you don't have to turn it up as much to get a good signal. That's something I would consider as well. And then, yes, if you haven't watched my video series on setting up a bedroom studio, go watch that, because the initial room that I used a bedroom that's off of my studio here and actually set up a rig in there. First thing was there was just drywall everywhere in a big echoey room. So I dealt with that first, then I was able to get a great recording. You can hear the final song. I actually recorded a whole song in there. It turned out great, and I just used cheap mics in a halfway treated room, and it worked well. What miking technique do you use for vocals? Eye level and angled down? No, I'm pretty simple. I just put the mic in front of their mouth and have them get fairly close to get a nice warm sound. Yeah, I don't go fancy. Do you use Mix Tool plugin on every channel for volume control? No. If the track is way too quiet or way too loud, I use clip gain. I actually turn down the audio file itself. No need to bring in Mix Tool for that. You can, but it's just one more plugin in your session when you can easily just go in, like if you're looking at my screen right now. See if I can do this without breaking anything. If I click over here, yeah, see how this is a piece of audio, and that little knob right there, I can do this. I'm adjusting the volume of that track, the audio itself, so that when whatever it's feeding into the track, that changes that audio. That's how I do it instead of Mix Tool. It's way easier, way simpler, and you can select all your tracks or all the drums and move them up and down together really quickly, which is pretty cool. I actually use a keyboard shortcut that whenever I have a piece of audio selected and I press the plus sign, it increases it 3 dB, minus sign, and decreases it 3 dB. Super, super handy. Tharlin Ooh says, tried adding plate reverb, but my vocal sounds not big. Any advice on making them feel wider and larger? I guess I would ask, why does it need to be wider? Because a vocal isn't a stereo instrument, so it really doesn't need to be wider. Could be that it just needs to be louder, and it also could be just the tone of the voice itself. Maybe it's not meant to be a really upfront sounding voice, and you got to kind of navigate that a little bit. But without hearing it and any more specifics, it's hard for me to really say. Josiah says, what do you think about mixing while recording? Sometimes I do some EQ and compression before I get into the mixing stage. Should I take them off when I get ready to mix? Great question. When I'm doing recording and mixing, yeah, I'm doing all sorts of mixing along the way. If the drum has a resonance that I want to take out that I don't want to listen to, I'll take it out. Now, I don't go remove all those plugins when I go to mix unless I don't like the sound. If it doesn't sound great to me, sure, remove them all. If you like the sound, then the only reason to remove them is because you're following some rule that says I have to remove them. And I don't like following rules just for the sake of following rules. If it sounds good, keep moving forward. No need to undo what you've done just for the sake of some principle. I say if it sounds good, keep rolling. Which audio interface should I buy? I'm getting into recording. Call Sweetwater. They will help you figure that out. They sell the stuff and they know it really well. I do not, unfortunately. I use the stuff I have, and I don't really shop for stuff until mine breaks. Then I go and research and stuff. But right now, I wouldn't be the right guy to ask you that, to answer that for you. Chris says, how do I deal with high ceilings when recording vocals? I'm good with soundproofing around, but not up. It might not be a big deal. I would just listen to the recording. If you got good absorption around, it may not be a problem at all. If not, I guess you could lay a piece of foam over the top or something, but it's one of those things, I wouldn't make it a problem until it becomes a problem and you're actually hearing it in your mixes. Hey Joe, do you use the console shaper in Studio One? I do. I just use the one that comes with it. I know there's other ones you can buy, but I like it. It adds a little bit of warmth and low end and kind of a roundness to the mix, especially for rock stuff, makes the bass feel a little bit bigger. Would you please record your concert? What are you talking about? Oh, the concert. It's not here at my place, and I'm more interested in just performing and playing and having a fun time with the people who come. Setting up all that stuff to record, it's possible, and we might do it, but honestly, I just want to play and hang out with people. And running a recording session adds a whole nother level that I'm not super interested in doing. Sorry. Skinny Chili says, hey Joe, thanks for making such informative content. What are your top 5 items on the Taco Bell menu? I love the Doritos Locos taco, any of them. The double decker is pretty good, and I'll just give you top 2. That's all I can think of. I used to like their little Mexican pizza, and then I realized it's disgusting. I'm kidding. Mark Strickland says, when you're recording drums and checking phase, do you start with comparing everything to the overheads, then moving in a specific sequence of importance? I've changed it a lot over the years, Mark. I used to be big on get the overhead and listen to it and make it sound amazing and then add everything else. At this point, I kind of just bring up all the faders of the drums and get a good drum mix with no plugins. Then I start adding, because the overheads can be so different from song to song, recording to recording. One set of overheads might be perfectly balanced and it's okay for it to make up the majority of the sound. Another one might have way too much cymbals to where it really can't be the bulk of your sound. You have to bring it down in volume a lot so the cymbals aren't overwhelming, so you're needing to rely on the spot mics for more of your sound. A lot of more modern stuff isn't just overheads anymore, right? It's mostly kick and snare and then some overheads sprinkled in. So I like to just push up the faders and get a balance that feels good to me. Then I put some stuff on the mix, on the drum bus, EQ compression. Then I work my way backwards from there. That's usually my process. Nothing gets treated unless there's a reason for treating it, if that makes sense. Any rule of thumb about reverb on your snare drum? No, I don't use it all the time. I'd rather use a room mic. A heavily compressed room mic gives you a bit of a snare reverb sound that's super cool. But otherwise, if it needs it, I'll throw a send on a snare drum for reverb, but that's actually not terribly common anymore. Most of the time I'm getting the sound I want just out of the tracks themselves, and if I do use reverb, a lot of times I try to send the reverb off of the entire drum bus. I know that sounds weird, but if you're EQing your reverb like you probably should be doing, what I do is roll off a lot of low end below 200 on my reverbs, then I can send a full drum mix to it and it doesn't make it big and boomy. It actually just makes it sound like another room mic. So especially when I get tracks that don't have room mics, I'll use reverb to kind of create a room sound when there wasn't one to begin with. The Street Kicker says, hey Joe, do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind? I do. Sometimes I do feel empty inside and pointless and worthless like a plastic bag. I think we all do, right? At least sometimes. I thought it was probably just a joke question, but it's actually, it does feel that way sometimes. I know that's a song lyric from somewhere, and I can't remember who sang it. A99 Productions says, just finished my mix of Raise My Flag from Dueling Mixes. Way to go, dude. Hope it sounds good. Greek name again. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce. I don't know what it says. A local band from where I live just released an EP, and it's mono. Sounds huge, focused, and punchy. Blew my mind. Really inspiring. I love stuff like that. I'm a big fan of panning things left and right, but the fact that you can get something amazing in mono, or things like a lot of the Black Keys records, the drums are in mono, and you think you can't do that. They sure did, and it rocks, which just goes to show you any kind of limitation you put on yourself can end up being an asset. I bet that project you're talking about probably wouldn't sound as good if they had let themselves do it in stereo. So even doing it in mono forced them to make different decisions, and all that added up to a really great sounding project. That's really cool. I love that. Nathan says, do you have a go-to chord progression, or do you try to make it something you haven't used before every time. So talking about when I'm writing songs and doing songwriting, I don't have a go-to chord progression. That seems like a recipe for a lot of repetition. But there are things that I tend to do just in my personality, like if I'm playing a song and I tend to go, like if it's in G, I'm going between G and C, maybe A minor in there, and then I might do an E minor D C thing. That's pretty common for me. I'm just trying to do something that resonates with me, something that I'm excited to play, and something that doesn't feel like something I've done before. So I'm kind of trying to hit all those points. But biggest thing is just something I connect with. Survey says that was a Katy Perry song. I'm sure I am making myself seem less relevant by not knowing that trivia. Josiah says, do you find that too much reverb on a snare drum takes volume away from it after mastering? Too much reverb usually is a bad thing. But sometimes, I mean, reverb's coming back. Listen to some of the stuff coming out lately. It's pretty stinking great. And sometimes it has a lot of reverb on there. So it just depends. Do you have any thoughts on the PreSonus Fader Port 8? It does look cool. It's not for me because I've already got this Studio Live, but it's super cool. Do you have an adult beverage of choice? Whiskey guy from Tennessee. You know, last year I got into bourbon, so I'm kind of digging bourbon. But my wife and I usually have a glass of red wine every night for the antioxidants. That's an Office reference. Is there any technique or advice for doing a whisper track? No. Use a condenser so it's nice and bright. Otherwise, just make sure they're not popping the mic if they're getting super close to it. Joe, any idea or tried if DistroKid has an artist music promoting deals? Any deals promoting you, DistroKid? I don't think so. But I don't know. You should call them up and ask. And that's all the time we have, folks. Y'all want some after party? I don't have the music queued up, but look, turns out this webcam is working. I could have turned this on the entire time. But will this one work? Big question mark. That's annoying. Okay, yeah, I'll stick around for a few minutes and answer your questions because I love you and I want to answer your questions. Sorry, I don't have any after party music for you. We're just all sorts of crazy today with the setup, so. Also, I'm going to edit this down while I'm waiting for your questions to come in. Normalize. Bring it back down. Zion City, oh my God. This is Ask Joe 233. It's pretty awesome. Hi everybody, Joe Gilder here from Home Studio Corner. Coming production course, will you be covering arrangement at all? Make different decisions. That sounds like me. Okay, I'll export that later because it tends to crash the streaming software when I go to render that sucker offline. By the way, I'm going to do a video soon. I was mastering for somebody last week, just a single, and I got done, and I just, for some reason, I decided to render it. Okay, this is a big time confession. I've been rendering my stuff offline forever because it's fast and I'm lazy. And so I decided, well, I'm going to render this offline. It came from something that I heard Ronan Chris Murphy say. Hey, I'm not Warren. Did you click on the wrong thing? So sorry. If you were looking for Warren and you got me, that's just sad. So anyway, I heard Ronan Chris Murphy talk about how he never does an offline bounce. He always does it in real time because it sometimes can mess things up. So I tried it myself and there is a difference. And so I'll do a video on that here soon. It's pretty interesting. Should I reduce gain equal amounts on all tracks to keep balance? No, Lucas, you shouldn't, because not all tracks need to be the same volume. See, there's a lot of, I get this questions like this pretty regularly, where everyone wants to know kind of a mathematical way to mix, and there's just no such thing, right? The shaker track needs to be quieter than the lead vocal. If you set them at the same volume, you're going to have to go change that volume later anyway. Now, I get that. It's like you're saying earlier that a lot of times you get tracks that are way too hot. That's true. And I'll bring them all down. I might bring them all down like 6 or 9 dB just right at the beginning just because I know they're too loud to begin with. But from there, I'm setting levels more based on what sounds musical, not any sort of math problem, if that makes sense. Intro sounds like Kenny Everett. I don't know who Kenny is.
This is Ask Joe 233.
There you go. All of them -6. I don't know. Like, how low does it need to go to where it's at a reasonable volume? See, that's why I think it's really important to always mix at the same volume. Always have your volume knob at the same spot. I use the K system, the K meters, and that's super helpful. So I'm always mixing to where, especially beginning early. Hang on, how do I get there? Especially early on in my mix. So if I hit play here, I'm going to mute it for a second. You can see, I don't know how well you can see it, but this is the K system meter. Let's bring it up real big. There it is. So I'm trying to get my levels to kind of right around here, just over 0. So when this is the mastering setting, but if it was mixing, it'd be there. That way, when I set my rough levels, the volumes are hitting there, then it's coming out of my speakers at a certain volume that feels right, and all is well with the world. And so I mix much more consistently because I'm always mixing at the same volume. So if you send me your tracks and I put all the faders at 0 and it's blowing out my speakers and it's way louder than that level I just showed you, I'm going to go select them all and turn them down until we're getting closer to where the volume I'm used to hearing out of my speakers. Then I go and set levels from there. I may turn one up or down here and there and get it good. Do you ever use LUFS? I don't know what they are still, and I just don't care. I probably should care. Joe, you need to find a way to sell good ears. That's what my VIP membership is. homestudiocorner.com/boink-VIP. There's a new gold membership. You get all my courses for one price. I know I'm saying it a lot because it's awesome and you will get good ears from doing it. That's the crazy thing. I do sell it. It's called training and practice, and you get both there. Will Paxton, what's up, brother? I've got some music that I recorded a long time ago. I don't remember my exact thoughts while mixing originally. Would you recommend remixing? I know what you'll probably say. I just want to put it out there. Why? I'd answer your question with a question. Why do you want to remix it? Why are you revisiting it? I'm a big fan of not revisiting the past and moving into the future. And you've heard my spiel before. You're a better musician, recording engineer, mixing engineer. You're better at all these things than you were however many years ago that was. So I'd rather write a new song and do the whole thing from now. But maybe sometimes it's worth going back and revisiting, but I don't. You haven't put it out yet. Are there songs you're really proud of and want to get out there? Or is this a way of you releasing music without having to make music? Is it a shortcut? I get you've already recorded it, and maybe there's something to going back and finishing it. And if you're really excited about the songs, I say go for it. But if you're not excited about them, then I'd say let them lie. Kevin Andrews is so funny. Speaking of the VIP membership, I wanted to cancel, but I can't find any way to cancel my credit card. There's a button in the members area on the main page that says how to cancel, or you can just shoot me an email, and we'll do it for you. Either way, we'll take care of you. Lucas says, Joe, can you quickly explain difference between... It's so funny, I promote VIP, and a guy says, yeah, I want to cancel. And we're moving in the wrong direction. Joe, can you quickly explain the difference between reducing gain during gain staging than lowering the volume fader instead? Yes. Okay. Here it is. All right, let's look at this session over here. Here's my vocal for this podcast, okay? My fader over here is at 0, okay? If this vocal was super, 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 super loud, right? And then I had to pull this fader all the way down here. Guess what? If I move this fader even just a quarter of an inch, that's a huge jump in volume. This little movement I'm doing right now is 10 dB. That is like doubling the volume a couple of times. I have no resolution down here. But if I leave my fader close to 0, a little movement, that same physical movement is just a couple of dB. Like that same movement now is like 3 dB, whereas before it was 10 dB. I want my faders around 0. That's what I'm into. Now let me hit undo like 1,000 times to get this back to where it was. Okay. That's why I do it. How's the health quest going? Good. Working out 5 times a week, getting stronger. We're starting to get the eating stuff a little more under control, which is apparently more important. But we're getting there slowly. How do you keep going in the face of adversity? What keeps you pushing the boulder up the hill? Woodhouse, that's a great question. I don't always. Today is a good example. I was discouraged about a couple things, and I kind of wanted to just bail on Ask Joe and just take the day off and do nothing. and it's not to say there's anything wrong with taking the day off, but I know if I'd done that, I would have just spiraled more and just felt more sorry for myself, and then felt worse that I took the day off and didn't get anything done. So I just came down here and did Ask Joe anyway, right? I ate a lunch that I didn't want to eat, like healthy food. I wanted to go get like some Chick-fil-A or something, but I ate something healthy. I did the things that I know are important, even though I didn't want to do it at the time. So a lot of it is just I've made some commitments. See, one of the reasons, among lots of things, that I do like this weekly Ask Joe, it's not because it's this huge moneymaker for me, and it's not that millions of people show up, but it's something that I do that I know creates value, and it's a way that I can commit myself to every week. At least, if all else fails, I show up for Ask Joe, right? Most of the time, unless technology is actually failing. And so part of me is this idea of committing to things externally and involving other people who are going to hold you accountable. Like if I don't show up on a Tuesday, a couple Tuesdays in a row, a lot of you are going to start emailing me saying, hey, bro, are you dead? And that's kind of the point, right? It forces me to keep a commitment. So the more I can set deadlines and tell people publicly what I'm doing, that part of that does help motivate me because I know. Like my buddy Chop, you've seen him in maybe some of the Gilder Cam videos. He is the guy. So he's the first guy who got me into this Iron Tribe fitness, which is the kind of the CrossFit thing that I do. And the first round that I did it, I didn't stick with it. I would go a couple times a week. I would blow off a few weeks. I just never got in a groove, and it was embarrassing, and I quit. This last time, about a year ago, I went back and I joined again. Except this time I told him, I said, hey, dude, I want you to hold my feet to the fire. I want you to literally, I'm giving you permission to just annoy the crap out of me to make sure that I go. And so since then, I've gone at least 3 times a week for the first 6 months. And then since then, for the last 6 months or 5 months, I've been going 5 times a week. And Steve Rossfather says, Ask Joe stops you from dying. And it's been really cool. Like I've achieved, even though the eating is still not there, and Tim's exactly right, it's 80%, probably even more nutrition. You can't exercise yourself into weight loss. I totally believe that and get that. But also there's obviously benefits to exercise as well, and I'm getting stronger and I'm able to do more things and lift more weights and all that. But bigger thing is there's this element of feeling proud of myself because I'm going 5 times a week at 5, 3 days a week it's at 5:45 and the other days it's at 6:30. I'm getting up early and I'm working out and I'm getting a win. I'm starting my day off with some sort of a win. Today they haven't felt like wins because both workouts today and yesterday just crushed me and I felt like a total loser. Why have I done all this? I still feel like I'm out of shape, but it's all moving in the right direction. So the more stuff you do to move yourself in the right direction and commit yourself and just put a bunch of stuff on your calendar, even if you blow off half of it, if you get a few of them done, it's going to keep you moving in the right direction. And also, I'm a big perfectionist. I didn't realize this till recently, but I think I talked about it on the podcast. If I haven't done it perfectly, and this doesn't apply to music. I'm okay with my music having flaws, but if I plan my week and by Tuesday I've already blown the plan and everything's off schedule, I'll want to blow off the rest of the week because I'd rather just not have to clean up the mess than to just stay put and really just step back and readjust and all that. Does that make sense? Good question, though. Bill says, I recorded stuff many years ago and have improved in playing, recording, and mixing. I've redone some songs with new arrangements. I like them more than the older versions. Yeah, I mean, especially if you love the song, but everything else about it isn't great, re-record that thing. I think that's great. Will said, I'm proud of this particular music. It's kind of the situation that you had with Better This Way. Great. Then I say absolutely do it. And if it takes re-recording everything because you're not proud of the recordings, I think that's legit as well. Nathan Laredo, I only managed to see you live because I didn't feel like biking into work today. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here. That's awesome. This is your first time here. That's great. Rick says, getting ready to start shooting videos with James Lugo on his weight loss studio things. You should contact him on some fitness tips. Rick, are you in Nashville? Because James is in Nashville. He's a beast. We're friends on Facebook. He's always talking about something crazy, like exciting. He just seems to go all the time. I love that. Hey, Joe, how do you feel about music streaming versus downloads? You mean, how do I feel about streaming music on like Apple Music versus buying it? Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about like the sound quality? Because I can talk about both, but the first one's more interesting to me. In Reverie says, "Hey Joe, I'm thinking about starting a home recording side business. Do you have business set up? Have a business set up on how I can accomplish this? Your videos are amazing, Joey J." What's up, Joey J? Joey J. It's hard to say. I did a course called Home Studio Business that I released back in January. And it goes through basically how I've set up my business, the principles I've learned over the years of running and maintaining a profitable business that supports me and my family, and went through a lot of that. Some of the folks here took that course. So you can access the course itself is $400, or you can join my VIP Gold membership, which is right here. Look at that. That's a nice transition. This week, I just launched a new gold membership that gives you access to all my courses, all 20 of my courses, $1,500 worth of courses for, as of this week, it's $35 a month. Or you can pay for the year at $385. After this week, it'll be $45 a month or $495 for the year. Stupid value, and you get access to all the future courses that I create. I've got two or three courses right now that I'm going to release later this year. You'll get access to all those for free as well. So you'll get access to that business course on top of everything else. So that's the direction I would point you in. Basilio says, Joe, lost lyrics of half my mixtape songs I was working on. I used to write them on my phone notes. Any suggestions? Rewrite, write new. Phone has formatted, hence why. I guess you have to rewrite them unless there's a way to recover them. Use the Notes app on your phone and then sync it to iCloud so that when your phone drops into a lake, you can open up notes on your computer and they're all right there. That's what I would do. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that like I know it stinks that you lost them. I've lost stuff too. Totally, that's where you need to go though, so it doesn't happen again. But yeah, check iCloud if you haven't already. If you're a PC guy, go log into iCloud.com or whatever it is, and it might be there. Okay. Because at this point, they almost make it impossible to not have them saved to iCloud, right? You have to kind of work to not have them there. So anyway, something to think about. Obviously, the cloud is the way to go. Lucas says, Joe, what do you think about parallel compression on bass? Is it useful to blend in along with the original track? I haven't parallel compressed bass in forever. I parallel distort it. I haven't parallel compressed it in a long time. I feel like the compressor on it sounds good. To me, parallel is potentially just a waste of time, because if you can just get the compressor to sound good on the track, or maybe it doesn't need that much compression, then you're just good. But again, I'm sounding like an old curmudgeon. All right, back to building the new desk. Stay strong, buddy. Not about how many times you get knocked down. Only matters you get up again. But get back up again. Absolutely. Do you use the built-in instruments on main stage, or do you have third-party samples? Right now, everything you've heard from me in the last year or so that's keyboard-related is just the built-in stuff with main stage. I haven't bought any expansions. Main stage is like $30. I love that. And it's got several pianos and several Fender Rhodes and organs that sound good. There's not a huge variety, right, as far as like synth pads and stuff like that, but I've managed to work with it. It's pretty cool. Do you always record DI bass when you mic the amp? Yeah. You don't have to, but usually we do just because it's easy to do, and sometimes it's nice to blend it together, especially if you get the phase relationship right. They sound pretty good. Or if you want to like add distortion to the DI and then the amp itself. So yeah, when we tracked drums and bass in here, we did both, and it worked out well. I don't do it with a guitar, though, ironically. Because direct bass can work by itself. Direct guitar is useless by itself without running it through some sort of amp or reamping, which I don't like to do. The VIP link doesn't work. HomeStudioCorner.com/VIP. Son of a gun. I don't know why that's annoying. Well, thank you for letting me know. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay, I will look into it after the stream is over. The world is against me today. All right, we'll figure it out. See you, Daniel Burgess. I got your email. I will reply. I'm sorry. You should try to license some of your music, Joe, for passive income. Yeah, maybe. See, I make passive income through my business, which I use all my music for. So in a sense, Home Studio Corner is my passive income from my music, if that makes sense. What's the next piece of gear you're looking to buy for your studio? I would love to get a Stratocaster guitar. I've never had one. I think I would probably connect with it. Other than that, what was I looking at recently? Honestly, this iMac that I'm on right now, I mean, it's getting old. Now, just because something's old doesn't mean, but I'm getting problems. If you've been coming to Ask Joe for any length of time, this is a late 2013 iMac, so it's only 5 years old, not even quite 5, but it's starting to chug along a little bit. A distressor would be great. I would just use it so little. I don't know if I could justify it. I'm testing out the Fab Filter limiter. I'm probably going to buy that because it's just so much better than the one in Studio One. A new webcam. The thing is, I don't think it's the webcam because I think it's the USB port on my iMac. I think that whole USB bus is dying, so I don't know. Probably a new computer's not the answer, but the new computers look so nice. Do you ever have digital clicks and tracks when recording? What can be the problem? Could be a bad USB or FireWire cable. Could be sample rate stuff where you've got the sample rate of your session is different from your interface. Could be a bad USB hub, like mine inside my computer was starting to go bad, or one of the ports. And yeah, G&L, I've heard they're great. I'll definitely probably check them out. There's a lot of great used guitars in the Nashville Craigslist scene for sure. All right, folks, that's it for me. The hour is up. Thank you for hanging out for the after party. You're awesome. And I'll be back next week. I'm not gone next week. So we'll do this again next week, 1 p.m. Tell your friends. And once I get that link fixed later today, if you think about it, head over to homestudiocorner.com/VIP to get in on the gold thing. Discount is this week only. Of course, if the site's not working, that makes it a problem. I'm embarrassed. I'll go fix it now. See y'all.